Hey guys, it's Conway, and this is the Grieving with Gratitude podcast. I'm so stoked to have you here. I would love to see you at our next event in Nashville. We started a group called Higher Conversations. You can find us on Instagram at higher.conversations. We're putting on a bunch of different wellness events and just everything that will help you with your business. Like, if you've been listening to my podcast for a while, you know I definitely have an entrepreneur's heart, and I have a heart for entrepreneurs and being around them. And I just wanted to be able to offer all the insights that I've had on how I've created the life that I have, and just want to give those tools to you. But today, I want to talk about triggers and trauma, because they are definitely they're trending. Because trauma and triggers are a trending item. And so I just wanted to clear up what they are, because I'm a spiritual psychologist and I've definitely researched a lot about trauma. If you've listened to my podcast for a while, you know that I've experienced a lot of different traumas in my life and kind of how I've worked through them. And I think it's just like a fascinating thing. Triggers are like my biggest thing that I think are kind of like a pet peeve to me when people are like, trigger warning. And I get it. Like, if you're driving, like maybe you don't want a trigger warning and like start sobbing or something, but trigger warnings always get this like weird bad label. Like, oh, it's a trigger warning. So you're like, oh, I don't want to listen to it, or I don't know. I think trigger warnings are stupid. If you can at me at it, I don't care. I think they're dumb, because honestly, trigger warnings I think are a blessing, because for someone like me, I don't remember a lot of my childhood, and I think there's a lot of people out there that don't. And normally that means something traumatic happened to you if you can't remember anything. And I like trigger warnings because there's a lot of things I don't remember a lot. And so when I listen to something and it brings up emotion inside of me, it makes me I feel like a trigger warning, like a trigger is like a spotlight on an area of my life that I need to look at for healing and to like love into. So for me, I think trigger warnings are a blessing. Like, if you get triggered by anything I say, that's a really good opportunity for you to look at places that you might need to heal, that are wounded and still like, need a little love and attention. So I think trigger warnings are such a blessing. And especially around trauma, there's this thing that's like going around the internet that's like there's little t traumas and big T traumas. Like, it almost differentiates trauma, like, oh well, yours is a little T trauma, so it doesn't matter as much. And I think that's, if you have experienced trauma, it doesn't matter if it's a rape or your sister stole your water bottle and you got mad about it. It's anything that trauma is anything that happens within a 24-hour period that is in a high state of emotion. And in that high state of emotion, your subconscious mind and ego create a story behind it to protect you. But that story is normally a lie. And then it plays out in your life and you're like, why can't I achieve the things I want? And it's like, well, you can't speak your truth, Karen, on the internet because your sister stole your water bottle. And in that moment, you were like, oh, I can't talk about my feelings. But you wouldn't know that that's happening unless you go to a spiritual psychologist or you're doing a lot of meditation. You have your trigger warnings so that you can actually see, like, why is this so triggering for me? So little t, small, big T, small t traumas, it's all trauma. So don't think that I just feel like it just minimizes and devalues your trauma. Like, if you experienced it and it's traumatic for you, it doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense to someone else. It's your life, and the only thing you have control over is living your life out to the best of your ability at your highest version, right? So like, all the trauma you have to deal with, it doesn't matter if it was molestation or it was a book was stolen from you. Like, they all feel the same in the body, and people are going to get really upset by this. You're going to probably get triggered, but like, your body doesn't know the difference between the two. It just knows that it's traumatic and it needs to protect you. And it creates these limiting beliefs to protect you and then you carry them with you throughout your life. So if you have anything you need to process it. Don't think, oh, well, this doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. No, it is. It's affecting you negatively in your life. It's 100% a big deal. So don't ever let someone minimize you and make you feel small or like that's not important. It's all important for you to look at and see and heal and love into. and go to therapy for, or go to a spiritual psychologist, or do any of the different modalities out there that are all helpful and healing. Like, all of them work. There's not one that's better than the other. So trigger warnings are a blessing because they show you the things you need to look at and heal from. So you're not carrying them with you all over the place and projecting them on other people and, you know, kind of up your life, to be honest. So anyways, that is my little story about trauma and trigger warnings. I do really think that the E4 trauma method that I'm learning, it has really been the most freeing for me because I've done a ton of therapy and rehab and all that. And talk therapy is great, but I really do like the E4 trauma method because it really allows me as a practitioner, I just hold space for you to declare your truth. And then I reflect it back to you. And then once you can spot the commands that you've created around your life and see how they play out, it makes life so much easier to live because you're like, no, that's not true. That's just my trauma playing out. So like, for instance, I've done a bunch of different processes on a bunch of different people. Some of them are really intense. Like, some of them are what society would call big T traumas, and some of them are little T traumas. It doesn't matter. It's all the same because you experience it emotionally the same way, and your subconscious mind, your body keeps the score, basically. So it's fascinating because those commands play out in people's lives all the time. For instance, mine is, you'll always be alone. So under my breath, if someone cancels on me or something like that, it could be even something big. I always just, mine is, you'll always be alone. So now that I've spotted it and I know that's one of my commands, when something comes up where a friend has to cancel because their kid's sick, I automatically don't spiral. Even though logically I'm like, no, it's fine. It's fine. But then you're kind of sad and mopey about it. Bitch, please. It's because you have this programming that's like, you're always going to be alone. So it makes it like this bigger deal. But when you're able to spot those things a lot easier, you're like, nah, that's a lie. I'm not alone. I'm surrounded by people, and you can affirm the things that are actually going on. But most people are so detached from their feelings and so detached from their emotions and so detached from even what they believe or what their commands are. They can't spot that. They just carry that with them. And that's why there's so much depression in the world, because all those little upsets, like your friend cancels on you last minute, you never dealt with it because you don't know what the programming is. And then it turns into sadness, and then sadness just evolves